I'm Sam Walter, just here for a webinar this evening. Is solar a smart investment for you? Obviously, I'm from Lifetime, and many of you will know me from Lifetime. But I'm lucky today to have Jarrod McCallum from Astech Electrical. I'm going to explain who Astech is a little bit more in detail in due course, but needless to say, I know them very well and have been very much happy client of theirs too for a long time. But welcome, Jarrod, and I hope you're looking forward tonight. You're not too nervous.
No, this is the easy part, talking about stuff that we do day in, day out. So no.
Fantastic. And it was really good of you to do your makeup as well.
Yeah, I actually had a haircut this morning too, if you can't tell.
Thank you very much, Jarrod. And I'm very happy to see the Warriors jersey behind you. I'm sure that most people will love that. How can you not support that wonderful team?
I agree, especially after the weekend.
Yeah. Just quickly as a disclaimer, obviously we're a financial services company, so we just need to point out that we're not here to give specific financial advice, and I'm sure it probably applies to you too, Jarrod. You can't be specifically about people's houses. We want to try and give general information, general process, so please don't hold us liable for giving you specific recommendations here. This is just a case of something we've come across over time and something that we want to inform you about. So what I'm going to do is I say, first of all, why we're talking about it. This is my section. I'm going to speak first and then Jarrod's going to speak. I have said that Jarrod's more than welcome to interrupt me at any stage, but why are we talking about this? Why is it that you've got a financial services company or investment company talking about solar panels and using solar power? Just want to do the maths behind it. You know, at Lifetime, we're all about certainty, creating certainty. So we've got some logic to apply to it. Like any investment, there is risks. We want to cover those off with you and help you to understand them. The banks that we work with are wanting to come to the party and actually help you fund this. So we're going to just talk to you a little bit about that. And then before I pass over to Jarrod, I'm going to just explain why we've partnered with them and asked them to present to you tonight, because Jarrod's going to talk more about the nuts and bolts specifically, aren't you, Jarrod?
Correct, yes.
Yep. Okay, so why are we talking about it? Okay, the first thing is I've had overwhelming, and my colleagues have had overwhelming inquiry from our clients. And what we noticed specifically, and Jarrod said this was the same for him, we're noticing specifically our retired clients very interested in taking control of their own future expenses. Obviously, when you go into a situation where you no longer have an income coming in, you keenly feel the cost of things that come out each month and that raise a lot. Obviously, once you're on superannuation, you get a little bit of support with that power cost. So even the government recognises how hard electricity costs are. So we have got a lot of sympathy for anything that comes around about controlling certainty and understanding, controlling your own destiny. So we just had a number of clients ask us about this. So we thought we'd get ahead and help clients with it. Similar thing as camper vans, and I've asked Kelly, our marketing manager, to actually look at camper vans as another thing that retirement seems to talk about all the time. And I don't know if, Jarrod, we don't want to get into that with you, but solar panels is something that's an overwhelming question about it. So second part of it is we look after a lot of our clients, and I'm sure a lot of our clients are on this call, where we invest their money, and we feel it's incumbent on us, if we can find an investment that paid, say, 10% per annum without any tax on it, well, why wouldn't we encourage you to invest in that? And one of the things at Lifetime we encourage you is to be holistic in our approach, look at everything at every angle. So is this a good investment? And that's something we're here to talk about tonight, and Jarrod will be able to help us a little bit with that. And then I said the environment's stupid. So more and more we're getting clients that want to be investing socially responsibly, but also to an extension of that is, well, what can we do to prevent global warming? What can we do to add our little bit about leaving the world in a better place? I mean, it also can protect your investment. Global warming is a real threat. We've seen some of our managed funds really hurt by Gabriel, the impact of Cyclone Gabriel on the underlying assets. We've seen the economy hurt by weather events. So, looking after our environment. Is that the predominant reason you've got people reaching out to you, seeing that mostly, Jarrod, people you're doing installs for?
Yeah, it's a fairly major one. Just wanting to do their bit. It's the feel good factor is often a big part.
Yep. Yep. Being a financial planner, I like to stick to the numbers side. That's what I'm going to cover off next. But
you can't calculate the feel good factor, can you?
Yeah, you can't. It's pretty hard to put a number on the feel good.
That brings us to the fourth issue, the reason that you might want to have solar. And it's coming from us at Lifetime. It's probably understandable because what we're talking about here is the insurance value of having solar power. Interesting stat we got here that was recorded in 2020, that the average household in New Zealand actually has an hour and a quarter of unplanned power outage every 7 months. Now, if you're a business like us and hosting a webinar like this, for instance, and right at that moment you lose power, that could be disastrous. Also, too, if you're a hunter and you've got a freezer full of your own kill and very expensive meat, losing your power could also be a big cost to you. And there's also a move away from people wanting to use diesel-powered generators. Isn't that right, Jarrod?
People are becoming more aware of fossil fuels that they're burning. So we've actually undertaken a project in the last few weeks where someone's been running non-stop on diesel genset for probably the best part of 2 decades, and we've added some solar and battery in. So that was primarily focused around emissions. That was the big driving factor. So yeah, it is in the forefront of people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's a big one. And then you know, I think part of the reason we've got Jarrod here and we want to do it, and we're going to come across this, but and who you work with. But I've had a
client who actually spoke to Astech recently. She was an older lady, and she had been already approached by one of these hard sell solar panel companies, and she was very keen to proceeding. But in fact, when Astech met with them, she used so little power that in fact the return for her on her investment, she would have never made back the investment. And she feels a lot more comfortable now knowing that the way that she's consuming power off the major grid is the actual best solution for her. So simple maths, just let's have a look at how you could work out if solar panels are the right thing for you. If we're just doing it simply, what we can do is we can just say, what is the cost that you're being quoted to put panels in, or panels and battery in, then divide it by, the cost of what you spent every year on power, or the power that will be reduced by putting in solar panels. So then we divide that by the cost of the hardware, and that gives us a simple return. Does that make sense, Jarrod?
Yeah, it is a simple, rough way to work it out. It is a very complex equation, differs person to person, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. But yeah, put simply, you've laid it out very well there.
and then I understand that cost could also be offset by power that you sell back into the grid, and every company offers different amounts. But
yeah, they do. It is a nice to have, being paid to export back to the grid. But the biggest saving is not purchasing power.
I was just talking to a colleague of mine who she said she uses her phone to turn on her washing machine at the optimal time to get her solar panels funding that, you know.
Yeah.
The next bit is a complex math, and my apologies if I butcher this for my clients that are maths teachers. I do have maths teachers as clients, and they'll be finding this quite painful. But basically, we have a time value of money. So what we're doing here is there's a number of different components to this equation. The present value would be the starting cost, what you need to invest into that setup, if you like, the panels. How long will you own the panels? And you know, if you've done a financial plan with us, we've usually told you when we expect you to pass. We've also told you when you might be moving into a retirement village, so you know how long that lifespan will be. Then the saved power will be the per month payment. So what is it that it's giving you by way of an income, if you like, or a saving, which is an income as well. And then finally, what is the future value? We can make a rough estimate as to how much those panels might depreciate over time. But the reality is, if you're selling a house with panels, that's going to potentially get you some greater income, because whoever buys the house is going to get the benefit of it after you. Just on that, is there
The question.
the panels, do they last a long time?
Generally 25-year warranty. Not to say that they won't last beyond that, but the manufacturer warrantable period is 25 years. So it is a long time, but it is something that sits out in the harsh environment. Wind, rain, sunshine, UV. So yeah, they're backed fairly well. But yeah, no reason to expect they won't last longer.
Well, some of the numbers I've seen, they pay themselves off well and truly within 25 years.
Well,
yeah.
most definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a hypothetical working example. We said that this particular person was going to leave their house in 10 years. Their setup was costing them $20,000 and their rough power saving was $2,000. So what we said is that then we reckoned that it would add them another $10,000 to the value of their house when they sold it. Very, very rough, and we could do this for you at Lifetime, no problem. And we would say that would equate to a 6.251 net return. So there's no tax, obviously, on power savings. So we'd say that's pretty close to what we'd be suggesting you use as going ahead. Probably, I would argue the 7% number would be a real tip over, but as you'll see soon, the numbers can always change depending on what technology you're using, how you're going. So I would argue that you need to start saying this needs to wash its face if you only want to look at it as an investment at a return around the 6.5 to 7%. As you all know, there is no such thing as a return without risk. So let's consider some of those now. Buy 10 panels, get 2 free. What I'm saying there, and I just saw this online, is that the cost of panels seem to always be coming down. Isn't that right, Jarrod? We've come down massively.
Yes. Yeah, there's been a significant drop in the last 2 to 3 years, pretty much post-COVID.
Right. My argument to that would be is if the numbers work now, it's kind of like when you buy an investment and then worry about how it could have been at a better time in the future. We just know the cost of this is going to come down, but when you buy your panels, if it stacks up on the numbers as they are now, then why not do it now? Because you get those savings straight away. So I think that's just something you're going to have to live with. That probably you'll see your panels cheaper, and that's with most technologies. I think we're used to that. I was talking to Jarrod earlier. He doesn't see this. He hasn't seen power prices fall for a very long time. There is obviously the risk, though, that you do your maths at the current power prices and we see power prices fall. But, that's just not likely, really, is it, Jarrod, to see power prices fall?
Yeah, I mean, it's if you look at a simple supply versus demand, demand increasing, there is some investment in new electricity production in the country. Nothing massive, a lot of it is wind and solar, which is weather dependent. I guess so is hydro, etc. But the trend that we're seeing is definitely up for power pricing.
So that's one risk that you should be aware of, but I don't think a very great one. Now, I think that we're seeing growing pains. We have seen 2 companies, and since I think this year, isn't it, Jarrod? 2 companies that have gone into receivership. So it is very important. That's why we sort of brought Astech along, to make sure you're dealing with someone that's got a reputation and they've got some supply. I think Jarrod will talk to that a bit more. But there is a risk, and to be honest, the main problem for that is the investors, and they've just over anticipated the amount of sales they're going to do, and they just haven't been able to deliver them. Obviously, it's pretty tough for a few customers there that have paid their deposit, not got the product. Jarrod, is there a way really to protect against that?
Yeah, I guess doing some research, looking for reviews on the companies that you're looking to use. A lot of people are very hot on Google reviews, for example. Ask around, word of mouth. That's the greatest form of advertisement. Yeah, we really recommend that people do their due diligence when they look to engage someone, because it's a big ticket item at the end of the day, and that they need to be comfortable with where that money's going and who they're trusting to deliver a product.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I think what we liked is having you guys are installers as opposed to producing the the product yourself. So that gives that degree of independence to be able to see, hey, what is the best product to do? And usually a bit of a rule, the same in financial services. If it's hard sell, it shouldn't be hard sell. It doesn't need to be hard sell. The logic should be there. The other risk we put was a regulatory risk, and this is all the same with your investments and tax and policy changes. It has been a political hot potato. Sort of what I said around the cost of the panels coming down. At the end of the day, if it washes its face now without energy payments, then why not go ahead anyway without that incentive? There's always going to be a better time potentially, but it's like investing. You can't try and play that game of timing it perfectly. You just may as well go with what you've got now. But things change all the time. And if you looked at solar panels in the past, or look at them now and it doesn't work, it may change in the future, because that clean energy payment that might come in with a different political party or something might make it suddenly a more viable option. And things are changing all the time, aren't they, Jarrod?
Yeah, so probably in the last 2 weeks, in the time between when we first had initial discussions about this presentation to tonight, there's been an announcement around some rebates regarding people who have battery storage and the ability to charge at off-peak times and discharge at peak times. At the moment, the incentive there is potentially a difference in power price, but the government is looking to push that further. Details are still a little bit scarce, but it is something that they are going to bring in I think the next 12 to 24 months. So yeah, it is evolving.
Excellent. That's good. So that's really the risks. I just wanted to say a little bit on the funding. We work with most of the major banks here at Lifetime, and we've got a number of mortgage brokers that be able to help you in this. But the banks have got on side. They want to, do their bit for the environment, and so they're actually able to lend you money at very ridiculously cheap, if not no, interest rates. They're the major banks. You could go to them directly, or you could come through us. We're happy either way. There's some terms and conditions, obviously, so you'd have to look into that. But hey, for those of you that are my clients or Lifetime clients, obviously that have got money invested, it's not hard to perform better than 1% per annum. So what we could do is, and I just did a little bit of a short diagram here with others that we've done in the past, is you could actually look to do this small mortgage. We keep your money invested. Then when your money comes off that lower interest rate, we use the earnings to keep paying the interest payments, but we just repay the debt out of that earnings. So just a little bit of a trick there, if that's something of interest to you. I looked at the maths on that for a client that was spending 40 or 50,000. When you're getting up to that bigger amount, or even the 80,000 you can do here, it was really worth its time, and even worth the legal fees that were involved in people that didn't have a mortgage getting a new one. So definitely something worth look at, and we'll be happy to help you on that. So finally, before I pass over to Astech, I just really got some points here that I just wanted to make. I've worked with Jarrod and with plenty of the people at Astech and have utmost faith, but they're a nice fit for us, because obviously a lot of our clients have higher value homes. They've certainly worked in that area. They're certified and safe. In fact, to get some of those loans, you were telling me, Jarrod, what is it, the certification you have that enables you
so obviously the banks are going to do their due diligence on the individual to make sure that they fit the criteria for the loan. But the other part of the puzzle is to get that money, you need a quote for some sort of solar installation, and that needs to come from a CANS approved installer, Sustainable Energy Association of New Zealand. We are a member, so we play part of the process, and a quote from us will get you in the door at the bank and satisfy their criteria in terms of the person completing the installation.
So, I mean, you can see that the lights are still on behind me, and I know that Astech actually look after this 11-story building I'm here in. So I think their reputation speaks for themselves. So without further ado, I'll pass on to my next slide, which is this man that you've seen already. And Jarrod, can you just walk us through what we need to be looking for when we're actually getting down to the nuts and bolts of solar and renewables?
Yeah, of course. So I think you almost covered off most of my introduction there as well. So yeah, I'm Jarrod. I'm the renewables manager at Astech Electrical. As alluded in the previous slide, the business has been around for 30 years this year. We cover a wide range of the industry. We specialise in solar. I think early on there was a mention of the number of installs we've completed over the last decade, which is somewhere over 1,000. And that's small residential, large residential, commercial, off-grid. We've covered everything. We work very closely with a large wholesaler in New Zealand, J.A. Russell. I think they are actually the largest in the country. So we've got the backing of a really good supplier who has really good supply chains, and is there to assist us if we need. So yeah, I guess what is solar? What is PV? Put simply, it's generating electricity from sunlight. The technical term is photovoltaic, and you'll often see the term PV thrown around as an abbreviation. So wherever you see that, somebody's talking about solar generation. What makes up a solar install? So the two parts you definitely need is the solar array on the roof, and the inverter is the other crucial part. It takes the electricity that the panels have generated, and it turns it into usable electricity, or AC electricity, which is what we have at the power points in our houses and what runs the lights. The third piece is optional. You can have a solar system without a battery. The battery does add features such as being able to charge from extra PV production during the day. You store it and use it, say, in the evening when you get home after the sun's gone down. Secondly, it offers backup power. So power goes out, battery kicks in, and you can have a portion of the home designated as the critical circuits or the essential circuits, and the battery will power those and keep the lights on, water pump running and things like that during a power cut. So those are the three main components without really drilling down.
Just Jarrod, I think you've worked with some of my clients, and and what I found quite interesting too was just with especially my retired clients, where they were actually at home and able to consume power during the day. You don't need necessarily have that battery. You know, it's not a lot of the more hard sales companies are trying to get both out because they want to make as much money out of you. But you know, can make it a lot more affordable, and sort of the return on investment is probably a little bit higher on the panels, isn't it, than the battery? Or
yeah, if somebody was looking for pure return on investment, it is unlikely that the battery is going to make that figure better. In some instances it will, but because it is by far the most expensive part of the system, it often pushes that number a little bit further out, makes it the years and months that it's going to take to pay back grow slightly. So yeah, it's a pure return on investment would be panels and inverter.
But the thing you mentioned too, we've come across clients with electric cars. You know, that's a great way to store it, isn't it?
That is another thing that's coming into play. It's the technology is there. The cars can do it. The solar units can do it. It's more of it's around the local legislation and standards to have that interaction between the car and your solar unit, to be able to use that as your solar storage battery. So that is something that is coming into play. It's not quite there yet, but yeah, it's not far away. So yeah, I guess as I touched on before, how does it work? The solar panels produce electricity. The inverter is the piece that changes it, the solar production, into usable electricity. That power then is used in the home, lights, power circuits, appliances, whatever you have running at the time. If you don't have a battery, as I said before, excess is sent back to the grid the power companies do pay for exported power. They don't give you as much money for every unit you send back as what they charge you to use. Surprise, surprise. But on the flip side, if you had a battery, as I said before, you then have the ability to store that excess to use at a later date when power might be more expensive during peak times in the evening. So I guess the reason why we're here is the why. Solar, at the moment, we've touched on it, it's bucking the trend of increased electricity prices. The price of solar is going down, the panels, the components. Post-COVID, we've seen a significant drop in panels. Battery technology is slowly decreasing, not quite at the same rate as the solar panels. Lithium is a hot commodity at the moment with the rise of EVs. But everything related to an installation is trending down. While it bucks one trend, you can go back, Sam. Thanks, mate. It's bucking one trend, but it complements another, and that other trend is the move towards electrification. So electric vehicles, fossil fuels, obviously, natural gas, so gas hobs, gas hot water heating, instant hot water units, califonts. There's been a bit in the media lately about the gas reserve is not quite as big as once thought, and I think the charges to get natural gas to the home, whether it be piped or in the big 45 kg tanks, is getting more expensive. So we're seeing quite a bit of activity around people looking to transfer to electric. So those are some pretty big ticket items when it comes to electricity usage. And solar generation is obviously something that's going to complement that. As your usage of electricity grows, the ability to be able to produce more is going to be a benefit.
I suppose I should have built a calculator for that, Jarrod, is to figure out whether you would have been better off without gas and going to electric. That's for the next seminar.
Yeah, that's that's a complicated one, but yeah, it is another discussion piece. So it helps. So the next thing is it helps lower living costs. So obviously we get an electricity bill every month. If you've got solar production, a solar installation, that production is going to help lower that monthly bill by way of savings and importing less from the grid or exporting. Don't know why that happened. Saving power by not importing it from the grid, or getting a credit by exporting, which is at a lower rate, but still it's going to help balance those living costs. Investment returns, which is what you've touched on before. We've got a very simple way of calculating that. Everybody's different with their investment returns, their situation, their use profile, what the installation would cost for their property. So that is very much calculated on a case-by-case basis, and we can take that a step further than that simple calculation that you gave before, to really give people good information to make decisions on. The feel-good factor, yep, some people just they like the thought of having solar on their roof. It's a conversation piece. They feel good for doing their bit for the environment, reducing their carbon footprint. For some people, it's not all about the dollars and the cents. That part of it has a bit of weight as well.
Jarrod, did you know in California that there's this issue where more people had the solar panels on the road side of the house as opposed to facing the sun, because people prioritize being seen to have solar panels more than they do than the actual energy creation.
It does sound like a very California thing to do. Continuity of supply. Some people, and I imagine that there'll be some people here this evening, they live sort of outside the city boundaries, where obviously countryside, you're far more susceptible to power outages, overhead lines, trees falling, all those sorts of things. And people that live further afield rely on things like water pumps, things that people in town take for granted, being your mains water. I guess your sewage system needs to keep ticking over. People in town don't have to deal with that. So for some people, it can be reasonably critical to keep some things in the house running. The technology has advanced, and like you said before, things are changing quite rapidly. It's come leaps and bounds probably in the last, say, 6 to 7 years. We've seen panels not necessarily grow physically in size, but we've seen more power output from that same size panel, and that advanced very quickly. The growth on that has slowed a little bit, but it is incrementally creeping up. But I guess if you were to sit around and wait for things to get better and better and better, well, as you alluded to before, you're going to miss out on those benefits of having that installation. So I feel like we're at quite a good point now where the technology has come such a long way, and it's at a really good point. And I think the growth is possibly going to slow down a little bit, and the improvements we're seeing. Still is going to improve, but yeah, we've been through that real solid growth period over the last 5 to 6 years.
Excellent.
So next steps. There's a lot of things that you need to consider about your house when it comes to a solar installation. The big one, the roof. Which way does it face? Being in the southern hemisphere, north is the ideal direction for the roof to face. East and west are still good. It just means that the time of the day when you have your peak solar production is somewhat different. Obviously, east in the morning, west in the afternoon. Roof material is a big one as well. Roof age, roof maintenance. The last thing you want to do is go and spend a whole lot of money to cover the roof and panels and find that in 2 to 3 years they've all got to come back off again for maintenance. So there's a lot to consider. Obviously, some people aren't going to quite know what's going on there, so it's definitely something that you should ask. Getting people's or the installer's opinion, or even getting an opinion from a roofer. Hey, I'm looking at doing this. Do you foresee any maintenance I'd need to undertake in the next 5 to 10 years? And considering that when you're looking at the cost of the install. Older houses, switchboards, they've come a long way in the last 50, 60 years. So some houses will need a complete switchboard upgrade to be able to integrate solar, to have backup circuits, or possibly even just for safety reasons. Old fuses don't provide the same protection as modern day RCDs and circuit breakers. So yeah, there's a bunch of things, and the other thing is to consider is the contractor that you're engaging with, are they asking the right questions? Are they trying to get to know your situation? Are they trying to understand when and how you use power? Or are they just trying to get you to sign on the dotted line? And there's a clear difference there. There's going to be companies out there, they've got salespeople who have got sales targets to meet, and they will say all the right things, do all the right things just in order to get the sale. It may not be the right solution for the individual. So I think understanding if people are asking you the right questions is a huge consideration. So that leads on to the process from inception to installation. Engaging, often getting pricing from multiple contractors is a good idea if you're concerned about pricing. So getting a feel for, are you getting the right solution for your needs? It then goes through a process, obviously, design, quoting, network applications, all that stuff that the installer deals with, and then obviously installation and setup, and then hand over to the owner, and exchanging the retail meter from a standard meter to an import export, so that you can rack up the credits with the power company for any electricity that you send back to them, which is an important piece. So that's the process in a nutshell, without boring people with all the little bits of how an installation goes together.
Brilliant, Jarrod. I was thinking as you're doing it, I could probably hear my colleagues Priyanka and Brett telling me too that if you're going to go and put all that kit in your into your house, make sure you get your fire and general insurance updated to add the additional value of solar panels, and and let them know that you've had your switchboard picked up, because that'll certainly reduce that risk of fire.
A switchboard upgrade would work in your favour, especially being modernised compared to having the old plug-in fuse boards. So
we haven't gone too far over time, mate. It's especially with me involved. It's a bit of a record. I just I'm sure those that want to leave will leave. I see we've still got plenty of people on the call. So just a quick question that came through. The first one was for you and your firm. Do you cover all regions? Where do you work out of?
So Astech, we're based in Onehunga in Auckland. So we cover the greater Auckland area. We do travel for the right job. Obviously, there are going to be points where us traveling further afield is inefficient, but I mean, we've gone as far as Bay of Islands. We service Waiheke in Auckland, the Waikato, Bay of Plenty. People that are further afield though, and if they are interested, South Island, etc. We've got a good network of installers that we know, and people in the industry. So if people do fall outside of our boundaries, we can put them in touch with other good contractors.
Which raises a good point. We're going to send out some feedback to all those people that registered for the webinar, and so if you need to ask Jarrod something, he very kindly will either introduce you or respond to you directly if you've got any inquiries directly about your own situation. There was another good question here, Jarrod. I was just wondering, so the question is, if you decide to just have solar panels, and put solar panels in place, is it possible to add a battery at a later date?
Yes, provided you have the correct inverter. Most of the time with a modern system, the inverter is going to be capable of having a battery added to it later. That's the way we're seeing things trend, is that regardless of the inverter will be capable, but it is definitely a question to ask, because it is more cost effective now to go from an inverter that isn't capable to one that is, rather than getting 2 years down the track and having to pull the old one out and fork out for a brand new one which is capable. So very, very much a good question to ask your installer when you're going through the design and quoting stage.
Well, that's brilliant. There's just one more comment here, which is a very kind one, thanking us for providing stuff that people are interested in, and that's definitely what we're trying to do at Lifetime, is help you in all aspects of your lives with your money. And this was a bit of a weird one, but hopefully people saw the value of considering these things. And as I say, I'll try and get those camper vans and good surfing spots. A few of my clients are into surfing. We could get some of the good surfing spots as another webinar. I'm just suggesting this to the team at Lifetime, because
Sure, they're listening.
Yeah, I'm wanting more golf and more surfing, but that's just me. Thank you so much for your time, Jarrod.
Thank you.
Yeah, and all the best for the WAS, and thank you for all of the people that